Hey YouTube, it's Master, and I'm going to be bringing you guys a Cyberlord deck here today. I was a little hesitant about doing this before Evo Fury, because this deck is going to be so much better in Evo Fury. Even with just two of the cards we've seen, I think Cyber Trader is one of them, and I forget the other one, the Evolution, that's basically a much better version of Aqua Seneschal. Yeah, it's gonna get a lot better, but I wanted to put it out there seeing as it's tested so well. Just against every deck that I've played it against, it's done really well. Yeah, Thunder Sultan once again helping me test this on Skype. Anyone that plays this game that wants to get some games in with me on Skype, feel free to, send me a message on YouTube first. I'd rather do it that way, but that's just me getting some requests, I guess, for you guys to play me, because I need more people to test with. With that, I'm going to get into this. I'll probably update it when Evo Fury comes out, but it's just done so well. I've got two Water Spout Gargoyles to start off the lineup. Really powerful late game play. Two Milporo, also very powerful because it puts the card on top of your opponent's deck, essentially making it so that they don't draw next turn. And the thing's a Cyberlord, so it's going to work well with the deck. Now, one of the biggest power cards in this deck, Hokira, Council of Logos. Some people don't like this, I don't know why. It's the whole reason that I've done well with this deck the way it is. That and one other card that we'll get to later. But this thing just allows me to draw and draw and draw. Like, I can just, once I get this thing set up, it's pretty much game over for you. Unless you get rid of it before it really even gives me anything. I've got 3 Reef Prince Glurgle, good turn 5 play, searches through the top 4, gives me what I need when I want it, and he's also a Cyberlord, so I can't go wrong. He's also level 5, which is nice to have some level 5 guys in an era of Scaredorable of Gloom Hollow. That can get annoying. Then, another card that really makes the deck, Finbar, Council of Logos. He's not necessary, he's really good just to pump my guys up. A lot of times I'll get 2 or 3 of them out at once, which is even better. He also serves as safety from barrage, especially if I have 2 of these guys. They have to kill one before they can even barrage the other one. So that's really helpful. Just the ability to boost my my creature's power is really nice. It's a really good thing to have late game. In combination with some other things. I'm going to be talking about the real strategies of this deck at the very end. So, just 3 Frogzuka in here just for blockers, kind of have to have them around. The other card I was talking about earlier that really makes this deck so good, that I haven't seen all that many people using in their Cyberlord decks, which surprises me, is Hovercraft Glurgle. He's just amazing. I don't know why more people don't abuse him in decks that can. He's a turn 3 Cyberlord, which is nice enough in itself. The 1000 power is weak, but since when does he need power? Especially because I've got Finbar to buff him up so that he doesn't die to the easy kill spells. And when he does, they've wasted him on that instead of another choice, which is something I'm really big on, that I'll talk about probably in another video. But it's forcing your opponent to choose between 2 things that are going to hurt them in the end, and giving them no real good choice. It's always an effective strategy. So yeah, just probably one of the best cards that I could have put in this. I don't know why more people aren't abusing it. And then I've got 3 Aqua Seneschal because, having the extra draw and the turn 3 Cyberlord is good enough to have. And finally, for the end of the creatures, I've got 3 Refi just for more blockers. So that makes 25 creatures, and there are going to be 15 spells for a total of 40 cards, which in any deck, this might be the one to go over, because it has the ability to draw so much that decking out is something you do have to be careful of. You don't want to overdraw in this deck. So just use the draw power when it's really helpful to you because you need cards or your hand is running low. Or you just got skull shattered, because that happens sometimes. Which is another place where Hokira comes in handy. The spell's pretty standard. I've got 3 Veil Vortex. Well, almost pretty standard. 3 Crystal Memory. Here's the part where it's not so standard. 3 Spy Mission just for the extra draw and the shield triggers. A lot of times it's mana, but sometimes I do use it, just in place of another turn 4 play that I might have had. And it's, it's a shield blast. It gives me that draw power sometimes. Especially if there's an early game rushdown deck that starts hitting me before I can really set up anything. It's nice to have that extra draw power just to keep me safe. 3 Logo Scan, because it's Logo Scan and it's really good. And 3 Ice Blades for a little more removal. It's also a Shield Blast and it only costs 2. So it gets rid of some pesky things when you really want to push for either the kill or just get past something for some reason. It's good removal in the extent that it removes them. It's not permanent, but it gets rid of them for the turn and effectively helps you with that. So I want to go over the strategy with this deck. First, one of the main strategies is I like to have my Hovercraft Glurgles, because they're so effective, and I'm going to be able to, this is like late game I'm talking about mostly. I can have, typically this is what my field will look like for blockers at the end of the game, is 3 Refi, a Frogzuka, and I'll have a Hovercraft Glurgle backing them up, which is really, you don't know how effective that is, especially when I've got all my other support that they're going to have to kill before they can get to my Hovercraft Glurgle. I've got these guys that die, and when they block, sometimes, they come back, and it only costs 8 to recast all 3 of them the next turn. And late game, I've presumably got the advantage in this deck. You're going to have to do a really effective job of screwing me over if you want to be able to beat this, especially if you try beating it early game. It doesn't often happen. And I've just got so much ability to replay cards. I get up to about 10 mana by the time I win each game. I've yet to lose with this deck, honestly. It's lost 1 game against my dragons, the Fire Nature Dragons, and it really wasn't that far from this deck winning. It really just came down to me making the wrong decision. I used a card when I should have used the other one, honestly, and that's the only reason this deck has ever lost. It really has that ability to just destroy your opponent, and late game just keep them shut down by replaying your blockers. So the other good thing about this deck is when they play something like a Bulgash Dragon, it's probably not going to get to attack right away, because I try to do my best against decks like Hyperspeed to keep bouncing back their Hyperspeed Dragon through either Milporo if it's that late in the game, though it not always is, or I have, obviously, Veil Vortex. I have other ways to force them into it, and another way you can get rid of things is Water Spout, obviously. So, the main strategy that I typically go for, though, is to get Hokira out, along with as many Finbars as possible. So, I'm looking for 1 Hokira, really, with 2 to 3 Finbar, and that's really shutting them down, because you got your late game plays that are rather weak. Well, a lot of these creatures are rather weak, which is why I rely on things like Hovercraft to do what I need to. And sorry, I'm keeping them down here, because as you guys have probably noticed by now, the glare up on this part in the middle is bad. I'm sorry. I'll work on that. I don't have a good lighting setup right now. It's really just like the fact that everything is so weak. Sorry, I got off track. Everything's so weak in this, typically around 2000 for power. I think that is the highest Cyberlord in here, is 2000. So you're looking at weak power, and that means you're either going to have to control the opponent, which this deck is very good at, or you're going to have to beef up your guys. So you've got both of those options, and that's what's really nice about the deck. But you've got this setup. They're not going to be easily using kill spells on you. The best that they're probably going to hit you with is a kill spell that targets level, and they'll kill one of these guys. But literally a lot of my games will end up with a field like 1 Hokira, 2 Finbar, 2 Hovercraft Glurgle, and a couple other things like maybe a Milporo, just to put it where you can see it, along with maybe one of these. Typically it's not dropped that often unless I'm backed into a corner. So I've got a Milporo, I've got a Reef Prince. I don't typically have more than 1 Reef Prince, so just to continue on piling the stuff that's usually out there when I win, is those. I've got 1 to 2 of these, and typically 2 to 3 of these. And I'm going to be redropping things that you kill, which is another advantage. But if you think about it, if I have 2 to 3 Finbar, which are now piled under everything, even my Milporo, which is basically just an endgame control drop, is going to be at 6,000 to 8,000 power. And if you think about it, having a level 7 with 6,000 power that puts one of your creatures back on top of your deck when it comes into the battle zone is amazing. And even if it's not at 6,000 or 4,000 and it's just at 2,000, even if you kill it, if you kill it in battle, it's going straight back to my hand, and I can replay it again. So you're not going to be drawing too much if you do it that way. That you have to think really hard to get around this deck's control setup, which is why it is literally crucial to get me in as bad a situation as possible, as early as possible, so that you can hit me with one thing such as, I don't know, forgetting what they call Holion now, Storm Spark Blast, there we go. If you hit me with a Storm Spark Blast, I think you might stand a chance, but at that point I've probably controlled your field to the point where you don't have enough on the field to get your way past me. That's one of the big things with trying to win in a zero shield comeback kind of situation, is you need to keep them in a position at all times where, unless they drop maybe 2 speed attackers and a miracle card like Storm Spark Blast, that they're not going to win. That's a calculation that's always going through my head, like, with the number of cards in their hand, the deck they're playing, and the options open to them, what are the chances that they'll be able to win if I let them break the shield, or something along those lines, or if I don't bounce that creature back to the top of their deck, or if I use Milporo to bounce 1 instead of Water Spout to bounce 2. It's all those decisions that make this deck. If you're not into thinking, this probably isn't the deck for you. If you like more of an autopilot deck, it would probably have to be something like Hyperspeed. My bad, hit the camera. Probably have to be something like Hyperspeed, to be honest. Hyperspeed takes thinking, but I'd have to say that it takes as little thinking as possible for a good competitive deck in this game at this point. Granted, I'm more of a fan of the red-blue Hyperspeed than the others, than either the tricolor or the red-green, but that takes a little more thinking than the red-green. I don't want to say it's too much, but it is a little more, and the red-green is still a very good deck, so I guess I'm going to leave you guys on that note with this deck. This video went a little longer than I thought it would, but the deck is really good, and it's just going to get better with Evo Fury, and I can't wait to cover all the Evo Fury stuff. I've already reserved and put a payment on my case. I'm going to get that as soon as I can, hopefully before the release, but I can't depend on that. So hopefully it'll be in beforehand, and if not, I should have it on Tuesday when I'll do a case opening. Well, obviously not tomorrow if I upload this the day I'm doing it, but, you know, on the release day. And hopefully I'll be able to get that kind of stuff rolling. And I'm going to be putting up another video around the time of this one, about my plans for when Evo Fury comes out and the rest of the cards, so stay tuned for that. And I appreciate you guys watching this. If you haven't already subscribed, I'd appreciate it if you do so, because I'm going to be doing my best to bring you guys Kaijudo content. It is a little hard for me because I don't really have a place to go to play it, like a league or anything. Lack of support in my area, and it's kind of sad, but I'm doing my best to get it out there. I've got some people that play, but the thing is, they don't show up often enough for there to be an actual tournament, so it's more just potentially one other person showing up. Sometimes I get 4, but I think that's the best I've done in a while. So thanks for watching, guys, and stay tuned for the rest of my videos coming up soon.